Hello everyone. Today I am trying out a new foundation from a brand new luxury beauty company that is called Outside In. And so I am looking to see how this foundation performs on my own 61-year-old and dry and very sensitive skin. And I have tried this foundation for 5 days so far, and so I do feel like I have a pretty good sense of how it is performing for me. And so Outside In is a company that is created by the original founder of Hourglass Cosmetics, whose name is Carissa Janes. And she did sell Hourglass to Unilever in 2017, but to my understanding, she is still the CEO of Hourglass. But nonetheless, she has decided to launch this company as being separate and to have its own point of view. And the company did just launch in late November, and so far they just have 3 different products. And so the one that is the most important of these is the Silk Serum Foundation, and this is $64. And it is a silicone foundation, and it is designed to be light. They say light to medium coverage, but I would say that it's mostly light coverage, and that you may be able to build it up to something that is kind of approaching medium. And there are a lot of skincare ingredients in this particular foundation that may be appropriate, I think, for people of a variety of different ages. And it has 25 different shades, and they say that it is supposed to be especially good at reflecting light in a beautiful way. And I do think that that's somewhat similar to some of the products that are offered by Hourglass, such as their ambient lighting palettes. And so therefore it is kind of the same sort of a theme that Hourglass has had. And they are stating that this should be appropriate for sensitive skin, and I do feel like when I looked at the ingredient list that it looked like it probably would be okay for me. And so far I have found that it has been fine for my sensitive skin and that I haven't been experiencing irritation from it. And so what I felt when I first tried on this foundation was that it reminded me quite strongly of a foundation that is from Eldridge, which is called the Seamless Skin Enhancing Tint. And so what I wanted to do in the video footage is a side-by-side comparison with the Eldridge product, and then I did wear both of those products on my face all day, and so I can give you a pretty good sense of what it's like compared to this particular product. And then I also did another comparison with the foundation that I tend to wear the most in the winter, and that certainly I wore the most last winter, and that I do see myself wearing again this winter. And this is the Patrick Ta Major Skin Foundation. And so I did do a side-by-side comparison with this one as well. And so all in all, I am trying on this foundation in 3 different quick makeup looks, and all of those makeup looks include a few products that are new to the market and that I thought that would be fun to just throw in. And then there are 2 other products that they have released. So the first one is a facial oil that also can be used as a primer. And so this is called the Floral Reserve Face Oil, and it is $72. And so I did want to give this a try. They actually did include a little sample of this face oil in my order, and so I actually wouldn't have had to buy this in order to try out the product, but actually I've been really liking it, and so I'm not sorry that I picked up this full bottle, and I do think that eventually I will get it used up. And then the third product is a foundation brush, and this does look really beautiful. The foundation brush costs $52, and I don't think that that's unreasonable for a nice quality brush. But I tend to put on foundations with my fingers and then just to use a brush to lightly buff it into my skin. And they actually said that it is fine to put this foundation on with your fingers, and so I thought that I would just give this a try to begin with and then think about the brush later on maybe. And one other thing that I'll mention about this channel before we get started is that I do have very sensitive skin, and that I have found that there are many ingredients that always do irritate my sensitive skin. And I know that these ingredients are very irritating for many other people as well, so I just don't talk about these ingredients on my channel. And for the most part, I also do tend to avoid any kind of products that contain essential oils or other kinds of natural processed fragrances, because those do tend to irritate my skin as well. And so let's just dive right in and take a look at some of the initial footage of me putting on this foundation in the context of a quick makeup look. And so the first thing that I'm doing is putting the facial oil on half of my face. And so they are suggesting that this is appropriate for use as skincare and that it also can work well as a primer for foundation, or at least for their foundation. And I do think that this is a fairly non-greasy oil compared to most of the oils that are out there. It does include a number of synthetic ingredients that make it less greasy in addition to the high-quality oils that are in the product. And so I did try this in comparison to the product that I very often have been using as a first step in my makeup routine, and that is the Creal Moisture Source. And I have found that that does work really well on my face, really under any kind of makeup that I'm using. This one does have some oils in it and some other moisturizing and hydrating types of ingredients in it. And I do think a lot of people have really been liking that one. And so I thought that this would be a good comparison. And then I am putting on the new foundation. And so I have this in the shade 060, which they describe as Fair Neutral Peach. And I do think that it's working out pretty well for my skin. And in general, anytime anything says peach in terms of the description, that does give me some hope that it might work especially well for me. And I have been really happy with this particular shade match. The shade that I picked is the third shade from the lightest out of the 25 shades. I don't think that they make it especially easy to choose a shade because they are not even showing any swatches on the website, and instead they are just showing models that are wearing the foundation that seem to be a match for it. And so you can pick out the model that you think is closest to your skin, and hopefully that will work out for me, and I think it worked out pretty well for me. They also say that if you are having problems that they would like for you to contact them, and then they will help you to pick a shade that's good for you. And so the recommended application, according to the website, is to shake it well, dispense on your face or the back of your hand, blend with your fingers or the Serum foundation brush, and don't use a sponge. And so they are actually suggesting that if you want to, you can just drop it right onto your skin. And I haven't tried doing that yet, but I think that just putting it on the back of my hand and then applying it as needed on my face has been working pretty well for me. And in that way, I have been able to get more coverage in areas of my face that I think need a little bit more coverage. And then I am using the BK Beauty brush that is called the 109, which is a mini version of their 101 foundation brush, just to kind of buff it into my skin. And I don't really feel like at this point or in general that the two sides of my face have seemed like they were much different to me. It certainly seemed to be the case that within an hour or two they looked exactly the same. I think that as I was putting it on, that the side with the oil might have been a little bit more moisturized and a little bit more dewy, but it really wasn't so much that I felt that it was necessary to put any powder or anything like that on it. And then I am just quickly using my Jones Road brow pencil that I very, very frequently use that has little fibers in it. And so I feel like I can just scribble this on really, really fast, and that it will give me a plausible look of having actual brows, because my brows do tend to be very sparse, and that most products that I use take an awfully lot time to do my eyebrows, and I'm not sure that they look as good as they do when I use this Jones Road brow pencil. And then, especially because of the Hourglass connection, I am using my Hourglass Ambient Lighting Holiday Palette. And I have the Deer version that is $95. And I had purchased one or two Hourglass palettes in the past, and I have not always been all that happy with them. But I think that this is the first palette that they have released that I have really, really liked. And this one does seem to be especially appropriate for my own skin, which is not real warm and which is not real dark. And I think that especially with regard to this bronzer, that this is something that I can use kind of with abandon. And it doesn't really make me look like I have a real suntan or anything, but I do think that it gives a little bit of prettiness and dimension to my face without looking at all unnatural. And in general, I think that all of the colors in this palette do look really natural on me. And I do think that the Hourglass palettes really are designed to give a special kind of a glow to the face and to reflect light. And so wearing them in combination with the new foundation seems to be working out really well for me. I am really liking the way that this is looking. And then I just put on a couple of other products that do seem to be especially popular this holiday season. So I put on my Chantecaille lip creme in the shade called Cherry Blossom, and this is a shade that people do seem to be liking on me. It is pretty bright, but I do think it's very pretty. And then I put on the Creal eye pencil, and this is in the shade called Everyday Taupe. And I am really, really impressed at how smoothly these go on, and also at how high quality the brush that is attached to the pencil is. I'm really, really impressed with that. And then I put on a little bit of cream blush, and so this is from Nars, and it is the Multiple, which is their blush stick, which they just reformulated. And I am using this in the color of Dazed, which is described as a peachy beige. And then as the last step, I am putting on the Chantecaille Luminescent eye shade in the color of Mustang. And so let's talk a little bit more about Outside In. And so what Carissa James said about this company is that its first collection is an exploration of light on the skin. Each product is designed to capture and diffuse light through weightless second skin textures and active skincare. And so the idea here is to bring the outside world in. So I had never really heard much about Carissa James before the launch of this new company, and now I have read a few articles about her. And so Hourglass was launched in 2004, and she does seem to still be the CEO of that company. Before that, she was an original member of the Urban Decay team in 1996. And before that, she studied at the Parsons School of Design. And so it does seem to me that design is especially important with regard to this particular new launch. And so Hourglass was acquired by Unilever in 2017, and supposedly there was $250 to $300 million in terms of the purchase price. And so this new brand, she said that she worked on it during the pandemic when she had a little bit of extra time on her hands. And she also has another brand that she has just launched, and that offers hair, body, and bath products, and it is called The Nature of Things. And so all of these brands are cruelty-free and they are vegan, and I guess that Hourglass is one of the first companies to really pursue really strongly having a vegan focus. And all of these companies are supposed to give the user a really expensive and luxurious experience. And I would say that all of these companies are skincare focused as well. And I did find a 2014 interview that she had on beauty products, and she said that if you can only invest in one thing, make it a top-notch foundation. And so the fact that she is going out of her way to create a foundation, even though it is pretty expensive to create a foundation, does make some sense to me. And so a little bit more information about the foundation. It does have a number of different skincare ingredients in it, and so these include niacinamide, hyaluronic acid, Centella asiatica extract, sunflower oil, tocopherol, which is natural vitamin E, and then Evodia rudiscarpa fruit extract, which is an anti-inflammatory that has a wide usage in traditional Chinese medicine. And there are 25 different shades, and these were developed in collaboration with makeup artists. And they say that there is a self-setting light technology, which they say is a breakthrough in complexion technology, and that the foundation suspends weightless spherical powders within a liquid serum base, and that they blur imperfections, refine pores, and create a soft focus effect. And she says that the goal was to create a true hybrid, something that feels like skincare but performs like makeup. And we wanted a formula that was weightless, breathable, effortless to wear, and that it would be light as air with all the benefits of a serum and the performance to last all day. And so my experience with this is that pretty much all of these things are accurate and that I have found it really easy to wear. I don't think that it has noticeably exacerbated the texture of my skin. I'm not sure that it has made my skin look less wrinkled than it actually is, but I don't think it's making it look any worse. And I do really like the texture of my skin in terms of the way that it kind of glows and the prettiness of the skin. So I do find that to be really, really appealing. And I do feel like my skin has liked it and that it hasn't been irritating at all. And in general, although I am kind of skeptical about a lot of silicone-based foundations because I feel like they tend to create a kind of a tight layer on the skin that allows it not to be able to breathe very easily. In this case, I feel like this has been really easy to wear and that it really hasn't felt like I was wearing anything except skincare. And I do feel like it was really easy for me to remove at the end of the day, and yet it did stay in place nicely. And I do feel like my skin was looking pretty much the same at the end of the day as I did when I put it on my skin. And I think that most importantly, I don't really feel like I'm looking like I'm wearing makeup when I'm wearing this. And instead, I just feel like my skin looks a little bit healthier and a little bit prettier and a little bit more glowing, which are all good things. Without looking greasy, though. That's really important also. And so let's talk a little bit about this skin oil also. And so this is supposed to be lightweight and non-greasy, and it is supposed to be a plumping look as a canvas for any makeup that you might put on, or especially this makeup, I guess. And so the oils in this include sweet almond, sunflower, meadow foam, jojoba, and macadamia oils. And they say that you should apply it to clean skin and that you can use it either as part of your skincare ritual or to prime skin before makeup. And they say use 3 or 4 drops and put it on the face, neck, and décolletage and massage into skin in upward motion. And then they also suggest that you could put it in the ends of your hair for a little bit of extra hydration as well. And so personally, I do tend to use facial oils. Usually what I do with them, though, is that I mix it into my regular skincare. And so if I'm using a moisturizer, and I don't use moisturizers with silicones in them, and so I will just mix a few drops of whatever kind of oil I am using into my skincare. And I do think that that gives a richer experience, and that in some cases the oils that I'm using are particularly high quality. Now, in terms of this oil, the oil that it reminded me the most of is one that is from actually one of my favorite skincare companies of all, which is called the Outset. And so this oil is called the Ultralight Moisture Boosting Oil. And so I have used this quite a bit, and I do think that compared to most other oils that are either from beauty companies or similar oils that I might buy from a company like Eden Botanicals, which they sell a lot of organic, high-quality oils as carrier oils for massage, that this one is a lot drier because it does have a lot of synthetic ingredients in it, and so it is more appropriate, I think, for use underneath makeup. And so they are saying that this is a dry oil, and they are suggesting that you can use it on your cuticles or on your hair. So again, that is similar to what the Outside In company is suggesting. And according to the website, they are saying that the Abyssinian oil, which is described from Brassica abyssinica plant native to Ethiopia, has particularly good benefits for skin. And then this particular oil also has squalene, jojoba oil, sunflower, grapeseed oil, marula, avocado, argan oil, rapeseed, moringa, linseed, prickly pear, and sesame. And then also some processed oils from like coconut oil and olive. But I think that the texture of this one, it's particularly slippy. It's kind of on the dry side. It does sink into the skin really easily. And so I do think it's fairly similar to the texture of the Outside In oil. Now the outside in oil, that is a lot more expensive than this one. This one is only $44 compared to $72. When I look at the ingredients, I actually would have thought that this one might be more expensive. And in general, I do think that the Outset is pursuing a strategy where they are using particularly good formulas, particularly high quality ingredients, and then trying not to overcharge people for it. And I think that that is the case with this particular oil as well. And I actually asked Pi AI, which is an AI program, which of these two oils they thought would be more expensive based on the ingredients, and it said that they thought that this Outset oil would be more expensive. So I think that in general that Outside In is pursuing a strategy that's more on the luxury type of a side. And so you are paying for things like the packaging as well as the quality of the ingredients and also the formulations. And I think that when I use both of these oils on my skin, that I think that they are fairly similar in terms of how they are feeling, and I would look forward to using this one a bit more to see how my skin seems to be doing with it. But so far I do like it a lot. Now, I'm not convinced that I'm going to use it as a primer. I think that it's a little bit more easy for me to just always be using the same thing as a primer rather than having a whole bunch of different bottles in my makeup putting on area. But in general, I think that this is a very nice oil and that I will get some use out of it. And one thing that I'll mention about Outside In is that they do seem to have focused an awful lot on their packaging. And Carissa James actually said that one of the reasons that the product was delayed a bit in terms of releasing it is because the packaging took a lot more effort than the formula for the actual products that are in it. And so the whole idea of the line is to minimize the use of plastic or specifically virgin plastic, but really any plastic, and that they are trying to use as much natural materials as possible. And so for this, the natural materials are recycled glass and then rice husk bioresin, and then the brush has limestone handle to it. And so what she says is that I want the customer to have that feeling of desirability, and this is something that I really cherish and love, and that every detail is designed to engage the senses and create an elevated and effortless ritual. And I think that this is a very attractive bottle, and I like the fact that this outer edge of this bottle is the bioresin rather than some kind of a plastic, and it does feel nice on my skin. And so I'll show you the outer packaging as well. So this is the box, and then it also comes in this pouch. And so I think this is actually quite attractive, and that if you wanted to give this to someone as a gift, I think that it's very pretty packaging as well. And so let's go back to the video footage and show the comparison between this new foundation and the Lisa Eldridge Skin Tint. And so we started off again with the Creal Moisture Source because I wanted to be able to use it on both sides of my face. And then I am putting the Outside In Silk Serum Foundation on one side of my face, and on the other side I am putting the Lisa Eldridge product. The Lisa Eldridge product is $49. It comes in a plastic bottle that is like a squeeze bottle. And I have shade T3 in that. They describe this as a neutral undertone. I'm not sure that I necessarily got the best shade of the Lisa Eldridge foundation either. I'm not sure that they gave a lot of information on that on their website either, but I think that that foundation shade has worked out for me okay. And I do feel like when I apply these to my skin that they are very, very similar. And that in terms of how they have been performing on my skin, they've also been quite similar. In both of these cases, they are offering just light coverage. I think that the Lisa Eldridge product may be slightly more saturated in terms of the pigments, and so therefore they are really only suggesting that you start off with 2 drops, and then if you want more coverage that you can get more. And I do think that with the Outside In product that I needed to put on a couple of layers before I got really as much coverage as I was getting from the Lisa Eldridge product. But in both cases, I don't think that coverage is really the point, and I don't think that if you have something going on your face that is more than just a little bit of surface unevenness, that this is going to be enough. I think that you're going to have to use a concealer to take care of that. But in both cases, I think that both of these are very pretty on the skin. And I think that both of them do feel like sort of nothing on the skin, and that they are really easygoing, and that they're both really breathable. And in both cases, I did find them to be really easy to remove, so that is important to me. I did feel like last year when I tried the Lisa Eldridge product, I wasn't 100% happy with it. For one thing, I did feel like it was very slightly, I wouldn't say irritating, it was just that my skin wasn't 100% happy with it. And I think that part of the reason why that doesn't seem to be the case now is because in general my skin is in better shape than it used to be. Partially because I am not using any products at all that have any kind of essential oils in them, even to try them out. And in addition, because I have been using some products from Dr. Barbara Sturm, just in very small amounts, but I think that those actually do have some anti-inflammatory benefits to them, and therefore that my skin is a little bit more resilient than it used to be. And I also feel like it might be the case that the Lisa Eldridge product may be slightly more exacerbating of the look of the wrinkles on my skin. But when I look at both of these products together, I feel like both of them are actually looking quite nice on my skin. And so that would not be a reason that I would have to not use either of these products. I think that both of these are fine for my own mature and skin that has a lot of lines in it. And so then again, I am putting on the Jones Road Brow Pencil and the Ambient Lighting Deer Palette. And as a lipstick, I'm using the RMS Legendary lipstick in the shade Eve. And I do like these lipsticks, and I especially like them because they do not include any silicones, and they don't include any plastics, and certainly they don't include any microplastics. And I think that they are much different than other lipsticks, but I do think that they perform really well, and that some of these colors, especially the more neutral colors like this Eve one, are very nice on me. And then to prepare my eyes for some eyeshadow, I put on the Creal Face Flex Concealer, and so that is in the shade 3.0, and I do really like this as a general concealer for my face, and I bought another bottle of that because I liked it so much. And then for my eyes, I am using the Lancome Idole Cafe Crush palette, and so this is a palette that I just did a video on. And this actually comes from Lancome, where Lisa Eldridge is the creative director, so I just thought I would throw this on because the palette is out and because I do feel like it's really easy for me to get a quick makeup look from it that looks kind of pretty. And then I am using the Say Mascara 101 in the shade Brown. Then I decided to change to a different lipstick just to see what it looked like with something that was a little bit more pink. And so I have put on the Nars Explicit lipstick in the shade Decadence. And so some general thoughts here. I do think that these are very similar products, and to the point that if you gave me both of these in an unmarked bottle, I would have a hard time being able to figure out which one was which. I think that they are performing quite similarly to me, and they do look similar when I put it on my skin. And it is the case that these skincare ingredients are not exactly the same. So for the Lisa Eldridge product, this includes glycerin, squalane, sunflower oil, prickly pear oil, some coconut derivatives, and hydrogenated castor oil. Her product does include salicylic acid on the ingredient list. And now it says on the website that the salicylic acid is less than 0.1% of the formula, and that they included it just as a preservative, and that it shouldn't be really having an effect on your skin. And so I think that that is possible. I think it also could be that some people are so sensitive to that it could be an issue for them. But in general, as I say, I think that now that my skin is in slightly better shape, that the Lisa Eldridge is performing fine for me. So I think it really depends on how sensitive your skin is. I would say that neither of these foundations is especially moisturizing, and that I think that both of them are good for my skin and that they do have good ingredients in them, but I don't feel like these are foundations that are really designed to give your skin a lot of skincare benefits in terms of oils and moisturizers, and that if that is your goal, then you're probably going to be wanting to put on something underneath it like they are suggesting that you would be doing with that skin oil. Now, in general, I tend not to use a silicone foundation on my skin every day. I do use them when I'm testing them, and I do use them on occasion if I want to look particularly nice for a particular occasion. But in general, I tend to use either a non-silicone foundation or just like concealer on my face on an everyday basis. But I think that this outside-in foundation is performing really easily enough, and I feel like I'm not even really noticing that it's there, and it's coming off easily enough that I actually would consider using this more often on more of a regular basis. And now that I have tried the Lisa Eldridge product again, and now that I am noticing that it seems to be okay for me in terms of not causing any irritation at all, I might consider using that product for the same thing. And so now let's move on to the final video footage, which is the Patrick Ta foundation compared to the Outside In foundation. And the Patrick Ta does tend to be my favorite wintertime foundation. It does have a lot of moisturizers in it. And I do feel like it gives my skin a little bit of a plumped up look. And so therefore it makes me look a little bit more youthful and a little bit prettier. And especially when my skin is in need of a lot of moisturizing, then I feel like this one can be really attractive. And so again, I am starting out with the Creal Moisture Source, and I am putting the Outside In foundation on one side of my face and the Patrick Ta on the other side of my face. The Patrick Ta, I'm using the shade 7, which is described as a neutral peach. And again, this has the word peach in the name, and I do think that that is working out pretty well for me. And I do think that the Patrick Ta foundation in general has a reputation of being particularly good for more mature skin. And actually, the time that I went to Sephora and I was looking at it, there was another woman that was probably in her 60s that was looking at it at the same time. And so I do think that an awfully lot of people that are getting older do know about this foundation and that they have found that it has worked for them. And so this does have a lot of oils in it, and it does have a thicker texture. And so I think that to some extent it's a little bit like the Jones Road What the foundation, in that it is giving the skin just a little bit of a look of having a layer on it that's just a little bit plumper and a little bit more youthful looking. The unfortunate thing about that Jones Road foundation is that it has a lot of essential oils in it, so I am not really capable of wearing that all that often, but in general I think that this particular foundation has been very nice for me. But I think that the Outside In foundation seems to be nice also. And then I'm putting on a little bit of that Jones Road eyebrow pencil again. Now, the main thing about this Patrick Ta foundation is that if you don't put a setting spray or a good setting powder on it, then it will never, ever dry down, in my experience. And so, therefore, I do think it is important to set it in some way. And I don't mind doing that because I do like the look of this foundation on my skin. And so the powder that I'm using is the Polite Society Loose Setting Powder, and so I picked this up in the shade Pink. And I would say that really of all the powders that I have tried, as one that is supposed to be absorbing oil, but that also looks really nice, I think this one is my favorite. And it's probably designed that way because this line is more designed for people that are younger, like considerably younger. But nonetheless, as a powder to put down on a really oily foundation like this, I think that this one has been really terrific. Now, very often when I use the Patrick Ta product, though, I use this Makeup by Mario setting spray on the top of it. But I don't think that the Outside In product needs a setting spray, and I didn't want to put setting spray on half of my face and not put it on the other side of my face. So in this case, I used powder instead. And then as blush here, I'm just using a couple of blushes that I picked up during the Laura Mercier sale. And so there is one shade on the website that is called Fresco, which is kind of a brown blush. And I've been playing a lot with blushes that are really muted recently, and especially using those to compare them to the bronzer that everyone seems to like if they have light skin, which is called the Ferrahomedy Bronzer in Bois. And so I picked up this particular blush from Laura Mercier in this brown color. And I use this on both my eyes and also on my cheeks. And I do really like this formula. It does have some talc in it. And I also picked up one that I put on toward the end of this makeup look called Chai. And I think that both of those are really pretty. And then over the top of that blush on my eyes, I put a little bit of my new eyeshadow duo from Patrick Ta, which is called the Eye Illusion Duo. And it is in a shade that's called In Your Dreams, which is kind of an icy and sparkly type of a color. And when I see other people put it on, they always put on a whole lot, but I'm just putting on a very, very small amount just to give a tiny little bit of a shimmer. And I do think that's very pretty. And then on my lips, both in the video footage and what I am wearing on my lips today, I am using the lip liner from MPH, which is a makeup artist called Mary Phillips. And so I have this in the shade called Cowgirl, and her suggestion when you put on lip liner is that you draw the sides of your lips pretty much even with your actual lip line, and then when you get to like your Cupid's bow, that you try to exaggerate that a little bit, and also the bottom part of your lip when you're right in the middle, like over where the Cupid's bow is, that you exaggerate that a little bit. And so I tried to give that a bit of a try in the video footage, and I don't know if I like it or not, but on top of that I put her lipstick balm, and this is called the Lip Siggy, and so it is in the shade called Love Bites. And then I just used a little bit of Sarah Creal eyeliner because I like this so much, and that is in the shade Everyday Taupe. And I used some Makeup by Mario mascara in the shade Brown. And then at the very end, I decided to put on a little bit of the Summer Fridays Blush Butter Balm. I feel like my skin was just looking a little bit dry because of all of these powders. And so I thought that it would bring it back to life a little bit if I used this Blush Butter Balm. And I think that this product from Summer Fridays is a little bit similar to the Jones Road Miracle Balm, at least in terms of how it looks. It certainly is not exactly the same consistency, but I do think that it gives not only a little bit of color to my skin, but also a little bit of freshness and a little bit of a look of it being moist. And so especially if I'm using a lot of powders, I think that putting some kind of a balm on the top that gives it kind of a glassy look is an attractive thing to do. And I do like these Blush Butter Balms, and so I'm thinking that maybe I will buy a couple more of them. It is the case that Sephora is having a sale right now where on one order you can get 20% off and you don't have to be rouge. And so I am thinking about all of the things that I might want to actually buy from Sephora at this point so that I can place that one order. And so I feel like after I set the Patrick Ta foundation with that powder, I feel like both sides looked fairly similar to me. So the Patrick Ta foundation does have a lot of oil in it, and I have had experiences with it having that little bit of a plumped up look. And so I was a little bit surprised that the new Outside In might look almost as good or pretty much as good. But I think that a lot of that has to do with how pretty my skin looks, and that on both sides, and especially maybe this outside inside, that the texture of my skin just looks kind of so radiant that adds a little bit of youth all by itself. And so if we look at the skincare ingredients that are in the Patrick Ta product, this one has glycerin and squalane, sodium hyaluronate, shea butter, allantoin, hydrogenated vegetable oils, unsaponifiables, sunflower seed oil, and then it has a fermented ingredient in it. And so I think that one reason that I really like the Patrick Ta is because it does have that fermented ingredient in it. In general, again, the Patrick Ta one, if you compare it to the Outside In, it does have a lot more oils in it. And when I look at the Outside In ingredient list, the thing that really is noticeable to me is that there are a few ingredients in that look like they would be especially appropriate for younger skin and for people that may have breakouts and acne type issues. And so those ingredients include the Centella asiatica extract, the niacinamide, and then that TCM ingredient. And so I don't think that those are inappropriate for mature skin, but I think that they are more ingredients that younger skin can definitely benefit from. And they do include some sodium hyaluronate and a small amount of sunflower oil, but I don't feel like it's really so much designed to be moisturizing again. And I think that they are suggesting that you may want to use some kind of a moisturizer like their facial oil underneath it. Now, intuitively, I think that especially when it comes to winter, that the Patrick Ta foundation may be especially appropriate, even compared to either the Lisa Eldridge or this Outside In product, because it does have those moisturizers in it. And I do think that that is why it has worked out for me, even though I do need to use a little bit of a setting spray on top of it. On the other hand, I think that when it comes to summer, I'm not really that interested in using a product that has all of those moisturizing ingredients in it, and so therefore that these other two foundations may be more appropriate for me during that time. But I think it depends on what kind of skin you have, and so some people have skin that is so dry that they would like to have something that is really moisturizing all year, and other people, even if they do have more mature skin, may not have as much of an issue in terms of moisture, but may find that they occasionally do have some breakouts, and so in that case, one of the foundations that have some ingredients in it, like this Outside In one, that may be more appropriate for those kinds of, controlling those kinds of issues may be a good thing. And so now let's briefly just take a look at some lists of some other skin tints that I've tried and pick out the ones that I think are relevant comparisons. And so the first list is skin tints that do not contain silicones in them. And one of the skin tints here that I have really liked is the Hourglass Veil Hydrating Skin Tint, and that is $49, and it came out about 3 years ago, and I do think that this is one of my favorite skin tints, and that I have used it fairly often, and I think more in the summer than the winter, but in general I do think it's a good product for me, and I haven't found it to be irritating at all. I do think it's considerably different than this new Outside In product, and even though it is from the same person. So it is a thicker cream rather than a serum. It does not include silicone in it, but I don't think that you need to put a lot of powder on it. It does seem to set down relatively easily. It is in 18 shades. You can go try it out at Sephora or Ulta, so that makes it a little bit easier. And they are saying that it provides a dewy glow, sheer veil of coverage, and so it does have some coconut derivatives in it: glycerin, meadow foam seed oil, squalane, and shea butter. And so I would say that if we compare this Hourglass product to this Outside In product, that the Hourglass product is more of a moisturizing skin tint, and that it's not really providing a lot of skincare ingredients beyond the moisturizing ones. And so if you're looking for something that is moisturizing because your skin is on the dry side, that this one could be good, and that this one from Outside In is really more designed to be a skincare beneficial product that is good for your skin, and that it delivers benefits the more that you wear it. The other product that I thought that I would mention is the new product from Victoria Beckham, which is a foundation, and it has sort of the same consistency as this Outside In product because it is kind of a serum and it is kind of a runny consistency. That is very expensive. It's $110. And my feeling when I put this on my skin is that it was fairly similar to the Patrick Ta foundation in that it doesn't dry down and that I did need to set it if I was going to wear it comfortably and have it look nice. And I did like it a lot, but this is really so expensive because it has the Augustinus Butter proprietary peptide in that. And I am a fan of that. I did a whole video on my experiences using the Augustinus Butter Rich Cream on half of my face for a whole year. And so I do think that it has been a good product for me. And so the reason to really get this expensive foundation is, in my opinion, not because it's looking better on my skin than other things on the market, but because it is delivering this skincare benefit to it because of that peptide. And that also has another peptide in it, and it has a few other ingredients in it, including one that is depuffing and a few other ingredients that I think could be really good for a lot of people's skin, especially as they get older, including the prickly pear extract that is also in that Lisa Eldridge product. And so I think that if you're already an Augustinus butter user and you are liking it, that using the Augustinus butter cream in the evening and using this foundation during the day could be giving you more of that kind of beneficial effects of it. And so that could be worth it for some people. And I do intend to keep using the Victoria Beckham product over the winter just because I am a fan of the Augustinus butter. And then if we look at the silicone-based skin tints, I would say that other than the Lisa Eldridge, that most of these are designed primarily as products that are just providing coverage. Some of them might have a little bit of moisturizing in them. But in general, I think that these are really designed to just make your skin look a little bit more even and a little bit more polished without a lot of coverage to them. And I would say that most of these are also more like a cream consistency rather than having this serum liquidy type of a consistency. So there are quite a few of these that have worked well for me and that I do think look really nice on my skin. But on an everyday basis, I really feel like what I'm more looking for are things that will enhance my own natural skin rather than cover it up. And so typically I am not wearing most of these silicone foundations all that often. But I am a little bit more drawn to be wearing this outside in foundation because it is so light, because it does come off so easily, and because I do think it is really, really pretty and that it might have the potential of being good for my skin. So thank you very much for watching all the way to the end of the video. And let me know what you think of this foundation and if this is something that you think would be attractive to you, or else let me know what kinds of foundations you actually like. I would like to hear that. And please do subscribe to the channel if you haven't done that already. And if you like the video, then please do hit like. And also please look for my Facebook group, which is called 40 Plus Beauty with Lisa Petruson. We would love to see you there. And Coco and I do love you very much. And so thank you for watching this video. Goodbye.
La ba da la 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 la